It's funny, right? Because when I said "What up, y'all," the first thing that came to my mind is, I guess me now, because I was knocked out. Had a long day yesterday. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let me see. See if we can get started recording over on the podcast. Yeah, what up, Ray? What up, son? Yo, what up, y'all? We're multicasting right now on a whole bunch of different stations, so y'all have to bear with me. Um, y'all have to bear with me if y'all hear, like, what up, Hollywood? What up, Honey's World? If y'all hear me talking and having several discussions, because I'm broadcasting on about 7 different networks today. What up, Angela? What up, Leon? Yeah. What up, C? Stick around, man, and hear some things that you haven't heard before so I can do some things that's never been done before. And we can have an amazing time. Give me 1 second. I'm going to have to restart my One Piece. So you do the roll past the pro. Yep, to Instagram, little tutorial. Like, yeah, did you watch the tutorial on that? I gave a lot of, there's a lot of input on that. Let me do that right quick so y'all can still hear me. YouTube, bear with me 1 second. What up? Good morning, Vanessa. Good morning, Zena. 1 second. Let me restart this right quick. Hold on. So right now, my YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. Oh, it's got no time left on it because I did something. It says no storage available. Let me go back here. I appreciate y'all patience, man. Let me give y'all some. It is almost time to get started. Like, I noticed a later start from a lot of y'all because normally I'm on a little bit earlier. What up, Contagious? I'm usually on a little bit earlier, man. I had a long night, man. I really did, man. So I appreciate y'all patience. I do. Because last night was a burner, man. And it was on some creative stuff. It wasn't even on some, I just used 2 phones. But the reality of it is I should use, honestly, I could use more, but the experience is too different to spread myself that thin. Made 4 lemonades yesterday to be ahead. Yeah, likewise. That's how I got mine now, Zena. I got mine where I'm ahead of the game because, actually doing them, daily is a pain in the butt. So I'm going to erase this one because this one is, yesterday I left it running yesterday, man, and it recorded like 4 hours. If you playing music, it's faint. Yeah, I am. See, so that's the difference, right? Hollywood, go over on my TikTok. My TikTok is the same name as the one on here. When you go over to TikTok, watch how you hear the sound and everything. Totally different, bro. It's a different experience. But the best experience, I'm going to tell you right now, the best experience is the experience that my people get over on YouTube. YouTube is the best experience on this platform, period, point blank. You know what I mean? For all the people who are, yeah, we lost volume. We back though, right, Letitia? We should be back. I had to do something real quick to get us back on point. If you're on my YouTube, make sure that you hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't. But I know most of the people that are on there are subscribers, so see, I could let you hear it right here, but the volume then it sounds, you can hear a little feedback from the microphone, but you can hear it that way. Ooh, it's a Thumping Thursday, and we're getting the likes going and sharing the room, sharing the live on TikTok. So TikTok is my main broadcast Instagram and it's secondary, but YouTube is where we're gonna live at, man. If y'all aren't following me on YouTube, y'all need to start doing that because I am going to just start broadcasting completely on YouTube. Some new information has come to my attention, and it's kind of everything. But I'm actually, matter of fact, TikTok will always be my streaming platform, but YouTube is gonna be very special. You know what I'm saying? And I want to make sure that if you're on my TikTok, that y'all are tuned all the way in. You know what I'm saying? Now I think they can hear a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, they can hear a little bit of the experience on Instagram. But man, Instagram is shortchanging their life. Anyway, my apologies for those of you who are looking for me at 8 o'clock this morning. Right now, it is 15 minutes after the hour here on the East Coast. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. It is October 6th, 54 degrees in Atlanta, sunny today with a high of 79. And it always feels like 5 to 10 degrees hotter than what the broadcast usually is. Like yesterday, I stepped outside and I was like, yo, it's hot, like it's summer. And that happens, you know what I'm saying? You get out there and you realize like the temperature is up. But I love it, man. I'd rather be hot than cold. You know what I'm saying? I'm from, I spent the majority of my time growing up in Michigan. So we're used to all the different weathers. You know what I'm saying? We get all the seasons, and you know that part for me is the dopest thing because it makes us well-rounded. You had to learn how to drive in snow, rain. What up, Mama Salinas? You know, you had to learn how to drive in all those different temperatures, and Michigan weather would be like,
I ain't coming for no foolishness.
Yeah, it would just be on you. You know what I'm saying? So we just deal with that. And then you come down here to Atlanta and they talk about the snow and people be like, Damn, Daniel. I'd be like, come on, man. Y'all know better than that. They don't know how to drive in the South, at least in Atlanta. Like they cut for Michigan to stop school. It has to be about 3 feet of snow. For Atlanta to stop schools and whatnot, I promise you it was a half an inch or something like that. I swear. It wasn't a lot of snow. You know what I'm saying? These people out here, the adversity is real different. It's not hot like that. When it comes to the weather here in Atlanta and how they drive, I give them a 0. Miami is kind of like that too, but not so much. And that's a shout out to Miami because of that little salsa swag. So anyway, we are broadcasting today. We're talking about this Thumping Thursday, Triumphant Thursday. You guys have made it this far through the week. Hey. I see you, Paula. I see you, Brenda. Some of y'all, listen, check this out. It's funny because some of y'all, y'all have different names than what I know y'all are, know y'all as because y'all have told me what y'all real names are. So I was about to say Demarion, but I know that's Brenda. Brenda was with me last night. If y'all missed it last night, I'm sorry y'all missed it. I kind of gave some people some insight into who I am, what I do. We went really deep last night, and I think you guys can appreciate the conversation that we had last night. It was on some musical stuff. Like we went deep in the trenches. We went in the paint, and I played some things, and yeah, I remember, Brenda, that Sonny was with me the whole night, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? DJ Hollywood is crazy, right? So I have to manage my volumes and whatnot because I'm going back and reviewing some things, and that's why I'm making some adjustments, y'all. I just want to make sure that the vibe is really dope for everybody when you tune in. And that's why I say, we got to do 2 different things. Paula said I was in Bible study and then I had class, but I'm definitely paying attention. Man, you are humping. I ain't mad at you. I think that, busy is good. You know what I'm saying? Learning is always good. You know what I'm saying? You was hanging out in the studio with me. You know what I mean? So we went through records last night and I just played some joints that I've created, for myself. Normally I just keep it, with records that I've done for other people. We started off like that too, but it kept evolving. What up, Redbone? And evolving is always cool. Y'all gonna always hear me say that, So when y'all join the podcast, man, I'm gonna introduce. I'm vetting like 2 different people to join me on more of it's probably gonna be an evening thing that we'll do on YouTube. When I say it, think about Rory and Maul, that podcast. Think of the Joe Budden podcast. Think of who else is a podcast that I enjoy? A couple of different ones like that. Maybe not the Breakfast Club so much, because the Breakfast Club requires, guests to be in the studio all the time. But in the beginning, I just want to sit down and have a conversation with somebody else in person and kind of break some of this stuff down. And we're going to do it. The cool thing is we're going to explore music. We're going to explore love, life, relationships, and some of this pop culture stuff. Because some stuff hit me the other day, man. They said, again, we're bending the corner on another winter. And, of course, now every winter they're saying it's going to be a horrible flu season. And I'm like, it can't be any worse than 2020. Why would you say that? Like, why would you even inject all that negativity? You know what I'm saying? And I just happened to catch it. Y'all know I don't watch the news. If y'all don't know, y'all know now. I do not watch the news. The news has a programming that is just the worst. If you all have elderly parents or elderly people in your life, make sure y'all are monitoring their usage and their time spent watching news. It's horrible. No news has been good news. There's always a fear factor, a shock mount. It's always something crazy in the beginning. And yeah, exactly, Redbone. They try to hit you with something stupid and whatever in the beginning. What up, So 100? It's been a minute, bro. They try to hit you with that negativity off the rip, and then what you find is most times there's no real merit to it. You know what I mean? It's just a scare tactic to get you to react. So I don't watch it. Any news I need to know, it'll be news. You know what I'm saying? It'll be stuff that's proven and whatever. But yeah, it makes me think of this thing. There was a show. It's definitely a aging show, but I can't even tell it. Yeah, it stresses. Liesl says that on Instagram. She said, "Yes, I can tell it stresses my dad out." Absolutely, man. It's one of those things. If y'all understand that everything that we discussed, even yesterday, what's up, Misfortunate? We were talking about mindset, and when you are dealing with what up, Kay? She said, "I love when you share truth concerning news." Yeah, when it comes to mindset, let's break it down, right? Let's break this down real quick. And y'all know normally I be on some other stuff, but let's break it down. Let's get a little bit further, because I want y'all to understand that, I want to have a multifaceted podcast where we can have, we could talk about a few different things, right? And I'm going to start programming a list, because so much comes across my vision and my mind that yeah, that's right. If it's big enough, it'll pop up on your favorite website. You're absolutely right. So 100. That's So 100 over on my YouTube channel. G.A. Redbone said, "My uncle is 96 and he would not stop watching CNN, and then he fussed at everybody." Yeah, it's a mood changer. I'm glad you're here too, Teray. Listen, think about this. When you turn on the so let's break down words, and y'all know how much I really want y'all to stay on top of word game, because the word game is everything. Whether y'all know it or not, the word game is everything. Think about this. What do you watch to get what they're trying to give you? It's called television. Let's start there. We're watching television. Television. What do you have to do to get to this television? Well, you have to go to a channel. Go to a channel. I know it's starting to sound a little demonic now, ain't it? It's starting to sound like a little bit of witchcrafty kind of, right? So let's get this. You got a television. You got to turn on the television. Go to a channel. Go to a channel. I could leave right there. I could just stop it right there. But we could take it a step further. Television. Yeah, television. And you have to turn on a channel where you can be programmed. It's a program. I mean, they're not even hiding. My Instagram, DJ Hollywood, go to my picture when you finna follow me and hit the Instagram button, and it'll show you my Instagram and my YouTube. But do y'all understand that? Yeah, you can't listen. I can tell you, I'm not an active TV watcher, and I'll give you some reasons why. First off, TV has taken on a whole new source of frequency, right? And they've never not done this. I want you to understand they've never done this. Letitia said, yes, had my mom going to take all these damn shots, so I've been out. Okay, all right, cool. Hopefully mom's is doing better, Letitia. Hopefully mom is doing better. Let us know, you know what I'm saying, so we can, put a word on her, so she, you know what I'm saying, so you all can go with some covering and stuff. Matter of fact, let's camp our angels out around Letitia's mom right now. We don't know what's going on with her, but as she is getting these shots and getting these healings, we know that your hand is behind the driver's wheel, and you're taking them to the destination that they need to go to better health, better wealth, and better feeling. Lord Jesus, we thank you for having Letitia in the room. She's always been a source of inspiration, and she's always been a solid supporter. So we thank you and say, in Jesus' name we pray, amen. What up, Donald? So when TV today TV has always been used for mass manipulation, right? That's why it was such a big deal to make sure that there was a TV in every home. It was something that they wanted everybody to aspire to, was having a TV. So if everybody got a TV in their house, they have a mass way of communicating with the general public. So what they couldn't do was this. The way that they had to communicate beforehand was they had to communicate with in a paper format, which is why I say, when we talk about, getting ourselves together. What up, Angela? When we talk about getting ourselves together, the first thing I think about is communication. How do we pull ourselves together? You can't do it on here. What up, Toya? Oh man. Yeah. My grandmother forced my aunts and uncles to get the shot to visit her last year. She now has a lump of throat cancer. Wow. Yeah, man. It's hard, man. I don't even want to get into that. I'll dive in on that on a little bit, y'all, because that's important, right? What people are finding out is that some decisions that were either made voluntarily by them or forced upon them, they are having these adverse reactions now, and now the truth is starting to come out. And I told people, you wait. I said, you wait between 23 and 24, that the real truth about what happened in 2020 and 2021 is going to come out. You know what I'm saying? But you can't, the way that they communicated before was by the same way that the Muslims communicate now in America with final call, right? And what's so good about that is that you can't rewrite once it's been written, and you can have it to regurgitate. They'll try anything on the news, and y'all know it's programmed. There's a couple. I don't have the links up. There are a couple videos on YouTube that you can watch that show all these newscasters. I'm sure y'all have seen it. If y'all been paying attention to stuff, y'all seen it. All these newscasters saying verbatim a script of information about situations in their area, and you say to yourself, where is the what up, Christina? Where is the part where you all, really, you think that there's no speaking for themselves? No newscaster gets on and shares their opinion. No newscaster gets on and is able to express how they truly feel about stuff. It's an automated process, and they all have a script. So I'm assuming that in their office they have this thing that rolls off, all of the what they're going to be saying on the teleprompter and all the information, and they just regurgitate it. So we can't expect the news to have some kind of individualism. It used to be, and it used to be like that on radio too. Is it that loud? Okay, it's a drum loop louder than your voice. Okay, so there we go. How about that? Talk to me, so 100. I appreciate that. But when I look at my volumes, it says my voice is up. Well, I'll fix that in the future, but that's gonna be something I can take care of. But when you had people who spoke out on radio, that's how things changed. When I talk to black people in America about making any adjustments, when they talk about, doing, when they be talking about marching and doing all those kind of things and mobilizing, well, how you gonna mobilize? You have no source of communication other than jumping on somebody's profile website or somebody else's platform like this one. How about now? So 100. That's crazy. I don't know. Figure that out. I just turned it all the way off. So can you hear anything now? It's still playing, but yeah, schools are even worse. Misfortunate. I'll dive into that. I need to find something so I can take notes to hit certain points, because when you can't communicate, that's the first thing that they take out in war. Miss Fortune, remind me to talk about schools and the program. They take out the first thing that they do when you go to war, when you're fighting in a war, is they take out your communication system. Well, think about this. They went to war with the Black Panthers. They went to war with, with the civil rights movement. And how did they do it? They got rid of, first off, the speakers, the people that were on the streets, the people that were out in beating the streets and talking to people face to face. When's the last time y'all seen a speaker box? When was the last time y'all seen somebody that was really knowledgeable and had all the information standing out on somewhere prominent and sharing the conversation that makes sense? Remember, like Malcolm X used to do, like Martin Luther King used to do, like the Black Panthers used to do. They used to stand out there in real time, in real places where their conversation couldn't be manipulated. You had to record it. And so what did they do? They infiltrated. And the only, megaphones and everything. They infiltrated so that the communications were done. And churches are absolutely programmed. But when you take it from just the public aspect of it, we don't have a form or source of communication outside of these websites. We don't have a way of doing it. If y'all really think about it, we have allowed ourselves to be caught up in a position where we're defenseless. I can't effectively communicate with anybody, understanding that no one else can hear what I'm saying. Like, I've thought about it. I was like, yo, how do you do this? Like, how do you have this conversation? What up, Regina? You see what I'm doing? I had a thought, like, right, how do you do it? How do you have the conversation that's going to change your situation? Like, how do you have a conversation to change the nation? Now, when I say that, I mean changing the group of people. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you say, let's all meet up. So when y'all all meet up, what do you got to do? You got to turn your phones off. You got to actually put them in, wrap them in aluminum foil, so that there's really no signals or whatnot. And then, of course, they have all these other sources to bounce sound off of to get to, you know what I'm saying? They really took complete advantage of this technology that they boosted us with. Every one of us on here, we're talking on the phone. Every one of us, our phone calls are being recorded. Every one of us is being held, I won't even say hostage, but we're all being held accountable for what we say, do, type, text, all that stuff on these platforms. It scares the older generation, and it almost targets them because it particularly says older people, they're not ready, leave this world, so they run after everything the government says. Absolutely. That's why we stay away from that. And the real challenge is this, Letitia. Those older people, I remember, I think it was Stephanie who was on the other day who said her grandma's 93 years old. They are the carriers of the truth. Like, those people hold all the truths. Y'all have to understand, like, our history books, in concern to what Miss Fortunate was saying about the schools, our history books are being rewritten. We're going to be so far removed from the things that have happened. I can guarantee y'all, they've been preying on it. And I said this in 2020. I said they're preying on our short-term memory. They're praying that we don't remember. Y'all do understand that, right? First off, they preyed on it during the whole pandemic. They preyed on the fact that you didn't know yourself. They exploited the fact that people listen to other people more than they listen to themselves. They exploited the hell out of that, and they did it in stages. First, they tried to scare you into it. If y'all don't remember, they tried to scare us into changing. What was it? Oh, not only is this pandemic, blah, 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 but also, murder hornets. What? Yeah, there are going to be some bees that can come over and kill you. They're called murder hornets. We haven't had them before, but we got them now. In all of your life, you've never had a murder hornet, and now you got one. Where did that come from? Okay, let's dial it back to some more scare technique. Just so y'all know, there's an alternate universe that parallels ours. It's like the Bizarro of our world. Y'all better beware. There's a whole nother world like yours. What? Excuse me. Then it went to, what was it? Murder hornets that? Oh, UFOs. Yeah. They really pumped the juice in the UFOs. And They pumped it up so much, they created a whole nother wing of the military without one official site or encounter that would make you say, we need that. There's a Star Force. Ain't that what it's called? Star Force or something like that? Space Force. We got a Space Force. We got a Space Force, and we haven't had over 1,000 people go to space. Do y'all understand? This is what they told us all during 2020. Space Force. Beware. So when that didn't happen, I'm sorry, New York, but New York was the front lines of the pandemic. And I'm trying to figure out how to word this because some of y'all, I need y'all to understand that. In 2020, our New York was attacked not from the pandemic reason, but from the pandemic reaction. How about that? The people who lost their lives mostly lost them in a hospital. I'm gonna have to clip that. I hate that. Most of them lost their lives in a hospital. You say, how is that possible? Like, let's do the real talk. Let's have the real conversation, man. How does a person? How does that happen in a mass way? Because that's what happened in New York. It was a mass group of people who lost their lives. A mass group. And they showed it to you. When does that ever happen? Hey, let's show the trailer out here. Let's show the semi truck out here with all these people being routed to it. What? What are we doing? Oh, okay. So first off, we have this situation that's being caused that nobody knows what it is or how to deal with it, supposedly. Yeah, and how did that work, Teray? She said, my friend's mother was in New York and someone turned off her machine. Yeah, and I'm sure it saved her life. Yep. I knew it before you typed it. I knew it saved her life. So in 2020, I was arguing and losing friends left and right. Why? Because friends and those people didn't understand simple logic. They weren't putting two and two together, and that's what they preyed on. They preyed on people not using logic. The ones I lost were in the hospital and no longer had COVID, but other illnesses as a response. That's right. So what happened was this. They did the scare tactic, and truly, people who had trouble with the flu and people who had trouble with other things like that, like respiratory situations, were high risk. Anyway, you're high risk for all respiratory situations. Anything respiratory that goes through it. I'm so sorry to hear that, Jalissa. Any respiratory situation is lethal to people who have respiratory illness. So when we say bronchitis, we say asthma, we say all these different things. If you challenge any of those things, it's going to compromise the body. So they're going to have a higher challenge. Put that person in the hands of, put them in these places where they're going to get connected to machines. Every day, Ron. And the challenge is this. If y'all understand how those machines work, they have to sedate you to some degree. So sedating you, of course you do, Christina. Sedating you puts you in a state of where your body is aloof, right? And then they have to intubate you. If y'all don't know what intubation is, it's when they put something down your throat. The area you're supposed to use to breathe and be comfortable. They put something down your throat, and then they make these machines breathe for you. Now let's examine that. Most of us, when we get a cold or we get a flu, I appreciate that, Ron. When you do something, yep, they emmed people in the hospital by putting them on the ventilator and giving them a drug called remdesivir. I was going to get to that, Toya, absolutely. Which was already undermining the processes of your body healing itself. Yep. See, so when they put that on you, right? So let me go back. When you catch a cold, what happens, y'all? y'all feel the heaviness in your breathing, but what happens? You go and you spit up, what is it? Mucus. So when you spit that mucus up, what happens? You start feeling better. But the more mobile you are, the better you feel because your lungs are contracting. Your lungs are working any liquid out of it. Do y'all understand? Your lungs are a muscle. If I don't flex this muscle often, then that muscle tends to not be used and it becomes harder to use the less I do it. Well, your lungs are like a sponge. Real crazy, right? So as it's squeezing, what happens when you squeeze a sponge that has liquid in it? It drains. But if in fact you aren't using the muscle that makes it contract, then your lungs are like balloons. What happens with balloons when you put water in them? They fill up. Now the difference here is, just like a sponge that doesn't get a chance to contract, it becomes harder to contract the more liquid gets into it. Well, then it starts to get harder to contract, which makes every other piece of your anatomy inside of you, it makes your liver challenged, it makes your stomach, your kidneys, your heart is all challenged because the lungs are the highway for your blood to get to everything and oxygen to get to everything else. So when this is compromised, nothing's moving around. Everything is where it's at, and it starts panicking. So they were putting people in a position where their bodies would panic. You understand? Their bodies would panic. Why? Because it was deteriorating them, not only from the medicines that were distributed to them, but also from the inability for their body to do the work. So let's dial it back even further. Two other things? Let me give y'all two other things that played a huge role in this. Psychological things and things that if you listen to TV and the radio and the messages that they were doing on the news, they made you compromise what you did. They told you to wear a mask. Wear a mask. I didn't wear one. I'm sorry. From the beginning on out. And if I showed y'all the mask I ended up wearing, y'all be cracking up right now. Why would I constrict my breathing when we're talking about a respiratory situation? Like when I tell y'all that they played on your ability to communicate, yeah, people still wearing them now, DJ Hollywood. And I'd be like, yo, y'all don't get it, do you? Yep, I seen it in the gym. I seen people in cars by themselves, Hollywood, with masks on, man. What up, she ain't my accountant? So the first off, you're compromising that. But the second thing, this was the thing that was the dumbest thing on earth that they told people, and people listened. They said, don't go outside. Excuse me. Don't go outside. You could catch it. That's right. That's the perfect face, Redbone, right there. Don't go outside. So I told you guys from the beginning, I was running like a fool at the top of January 2020. That's with nothing else. Like there was no pandemic when I started running. I was running for my health. So when everything came along and people started telling me that the government knew about my body more than I did, they introduced a word that was synonymous now with the boogeyman. Does anybody know the word they introduced? It was, yeah, it's 5 syllables. Starts with an A, ends with a C. 5-syllable word that is synonymous with the boogeyman, which is also impossible to do or be when we're talking about respiratory situations. Does anybody know the word? They kept throwing this word around, and this was the word that scared everybody. There you go, Rig. Asymptomatic. Asymptomatic. Yeah, I got it right. They were telling people the boogeyman existed in real life, in real form. They told you the boogeyman existed. How do you know? If you got it. What? My body gonna tell me I got it. What the hell are you talking about? I get the sniffles when I'm about to catch a cold. I get a sore throat when I'm about to catch a cold. I start coughing when I'm about to get a cold. What the hell you mean? How am I have something and not show? And mind you, I'm saying on the respiratory side of this. Now there are some things that can and do exist in your body for a short period of time with no response from your body, but that's very minute. Like there are very few things that are truly associated with that word. And those that are only associated with that word for a short time. That's how people find out, they've been walking around with cancer and different things like that. But they shot everybody down. Y'all don't even understand the arguments I went on. That's what's up, Lola. Get it started. Y'all won't understand the arguments. I was on people's public platforms communicating back and forth. I would tell y'all a huge part of my following on Clubhouse, I've got over 56,000 followers on Clubhouse. A huge part of my following on Clubhouse was me defending Logic. Yep. Wait, I don't know if it's I think it's the 15. If you watch the video, yeah, it's the 15. He said he thought the word was abracadabra. That's funny. Letitia says, people don't realize that your lungs are the most laziest organ in the body. It's hard to come back from a machine doing the work for them. Absolutely. It's like trying to restart the engine. When I said, listen, y'all got to understand, I told people instead of those vents in those places, they need to put treadmills. Well, I just did the natural plants for Mother Earth in 2020, and when my eyes hit and was doing and been doing well with Mother Earth. Absolutely. Y'all, listen, your parents and grandparents had recipes and remedies to keep your body straight for a long, long time. She said peppermint oil was her number one go-to. That's what's up. I know a lot of people did, their different teas and all the natural remedies, and they came out of this thing better than they went into it. And when they did get it, listen, almost immediate, Lola, but give it a week to 2 weeks. The craziest part was this, man. Before 2021, the whole world had to deal with finding a way to cope and survive yourself. Think about it. 2020, there was no quote unquote help. All of 2020, you had no help. But you survived it. So that's the fear. That's the fear section of this thing. I want y'all to break this. I'm going to break this down for y'all so y'all can really keep this and communicate this when y'all talk to y'all friends and family and those still people who still think are drinking the Kool-Aid. The first year, they gave you nothing but fear campaign. Fear. And then guess what? Late 2020, COVID disappeared because we had an election. Y'all do realize that, right? COVID, I mean to say the word, but the whole thing took a detour during the election. Remember that? Remember during the George Floyd thing, took a detour. Y'all do realize the George Floyd thing happened in the heart of this situation. And you didn't see anybody out there masked up. Like, I'm just pointing out logic, y'all. I'm just trying to point out logic to y'all. They gave you masks so you couldn't see each other smiling, so you couldn't uplift one another, so that you all look the same. If you all look the same, who knows who's well and who's not? That part was the dumbest thing to me ever on earth. It was like, I'm walking around and I told people, I said, hey, you wearing that for me. I ain't sick. You wearing that for me. I believe you're sick if you got it. Yeah. I'd be like, you sick. If you got it on, I believe you sick. If you are wearing a mask, I'm just gonna assume you're sick, especially nowadays. I saw somebody the other day had a mask on. I was like, oh, you sick. Okay, I get it. You're sick. Okay. And I be telling them, all right, that's what's up. I'm here. I'm in the A till next week. I'll be like, yo, do you need me to call for help? They'd be like, why? Because you have stuff on your face. That's right, Lola. We have everything we need. Yep. Exactly, Handy. What people don't realize is that the fear of that situation is what they did. So first year, they fear factored you. I gave you the examples: murder hornets, UFOs, alternate universe. It was like one more too. I tend to forget the other thing, but it was one more thing that hit you with. Then Once they got the ingredients for the thing that they really wanted to push, the real moneymaker, what did they give you? They tried to seduce you. They tried to seduce you. When you wouldn't do it, they tried to seduce you. Hey, if you do it, I'll give you a free Uber ride. Hey, if you do it, I'll enter you in $1 million jackpot. I'll give you raffle tickets. Hey, if you do it, you get free entry into the strip club. Hey, if you do it, you get free donuts. You know, you get all these things if you do it. That in part should let y'all know that something was off. You don't have to, listen, they played people like they were idiots. You don't have to, listen, the reason why, let's circle this back to apple cider vinegar lemonade. The reason why apple cider vinegar lemonade is the bomb and it works and what it's because it works. And people are going to talk to other people and say it works. We're going to get to that, Missy. I'm just taking you through the stages. First, they try to fear factor you. Then they try to seduce you. You don't have to seduce. If I came on this live right now, that's right. They ain't never cared, Lola, so why they care now? Why am I listening to you now? And that was the other part is, that's why I told y'all that they prey on your short-term memory. Free burgers when way issues played a part in the problem. Yep, they trying to, every way they're compounding it, right? Yep, that's that. We getting to that, Charlie. Let me get to that, right? So in the seduction period, they were hoping that you forgot that you survived a whole year without it. Nah, Michael Jackson wasn't ahead, bro. Michael Jackson's song is just mainly telling you nothing has changed. Michael Jackson songs, they don't really care about us. That is just an indication that things are no more different than they are the same from when he was a kid and before that. We're not dealing with nothing different. We're just dealing with it differently. We're not looking at this thing as something new. This is the same thing. The difference is we're getting less able to manage our situations as we go forward than we have been in the past. In the past, I'm going to tell y'all, we had a stronger chance when there were the entities like the Black Panthers around. We had a stronger chance at making a change because there were organizations who were willing to stand up. There were organizations that were had a certain level of militarization, meaning organization, that was there. We don't have that. Yep. Then we don't have that. We don't have any kind of mobility. We don't. And when I say that, y'all listen, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, as angry as I was at these events where these police have taken their jobs over the top and have taken people out, as angry as I was about those things, there's no way in hell you were going to get me to stand out there and walk down somebody's street in protest. I'm sorry. I'm more of a Malcolm X protester than I'll ever be a Martin Luther King protester. And in Martin Luther King's defense, he came around at the end, and why he was taken out is because he said it. Hey, I apologize. I have steered you all wrong. I have steered you all wrong. We should be getting our reparations and da da da. So y'all gotta watch that. You gotta watch the speech he said it where he apologized. So the seduction period went for a few months. When the seduction period wasn't working and they started lying about the numbers, like they were lying about the numbers in the fear factor time. That was the other indicator. Atlanta, Georgia was on the front lines, and that's why I'm sorry I don't do Republican or the Democrat when I think about how I'm going to vote or how I'm going to move. I hope y'all understand me. I neither one of those possess the wholeness of who I am, so I can't communicate that way when it comes to politics. You know what I mean? So when it came down to who was communicating about what, Georgia has a Republican governor. Governors are more powerful than presidents. I hope y'all understand that. The governor doesn't have to go through the checks and balances that a president has to go through in order to govern their state. The governor that we currently have, Brian Kemp, this fool made everything like, nah, we ain't doing that. So Atlanta was open longer. Atlanta went through its phase of highs and lows with the pandemic, and people, when it started, I'm gonna tell you just how deep I was. When this thing started, I drove to hospitals to see when the people talking about people are lining up, and it was empty. There wasn't nobody really in the hospitals like that here. I drove around to them to see because I wanted to know. I took my drone with me because I wanted to fly and see all this influx of people. I'm telling y'all, I was on the front lines and I was arguing with people on a regular basis during the fear factor stage of it. I said, "Wow, what else are we scared of again?" No, I don't get it. Let me go look. And then before they introduced the seduction period, before they actually said, "Hey, we got something that we can make money on," I caught it. Like I intentionally caught it. And the effects that I had when I had it was this. I quarantined myself to my studio, and if I laid down, I had a fever. If I sat up, I didn't have a fever. Dehydration was a real thing for me because of the level of the fever or whatever. It was so consistent. And I'll tell you what it is. I really understood early on that if it was a man-made situation, I mean, if it was a natural thing, yep, they actually do, Lola. If it was a natural thing, my body could handle it. My body could manage it so easy. What up, Stephanie? My body would manage it easily, right? But there's an element to this that was not man-made. I mean, that was man-made. That was a part of it that established itself in such a way. It was the connectivity, right? It was the virility of it, and then the connectivity. It was the gain of, the making it a stronger flu. You know what I mean? Yep, that's it right there. So Lola, you finna make me go super deep. I drove around during the period where they had people staying in inside, and I recognized more towers going up than I had ever seen. Now, why do they need more towers? Because they need more surveillance. Why do they need more surveillance? Surveillance equals control. And so that was also part of it. Y'all understand that these things have layers. The biggest control situation they got out there is communication. Do y'all know they could shut down anything that we communicate on, and then y'all will be looking around like, yo, what happened to such and such? Where such and such go? Even when you get arrested, what do? They shut down your communication. You got to wait a while to let people know where you are. Communication is the key. What up, Key? Communication is everything. So when I tell y'all that was the campaign, I mean, you couldn't say on most sites, and I'm not gonna say it either right now, but you couldn't say blapado babundo there. Y'all understand what I'm saying? You couldn't say satural community. You know what I mean? I hope y'all get it. But you couldn't say those two words because they wanted people to believe that you couldn't manage it yourself. Now, I watched the news, not a news report. I was running at the gym, and they came up with a word for it called super, what do they call it? Super immunity or some crazy word where it says that you, isolation, remove communication because separation breaks people down. You're absolutely right. She said I need a doomsday party. It's funny. Oh man, what was I just saying? That comment threw me way off. Let me scroll up because let me see. That threw me way off right there. So I gotta manage what I'm reading. Yeah. So with the cameras, right? They did all that stuff while we were away, while we were in, and I drove around and I saw it. I was like, yo, what are all these things going up? And I didn't want to believe it at first, but I know there's an element of it, of control with communication. What they want to do is they want to be able to monitor us, and they have to do it at such a rapid speed that they can shut things down in an instant. The reason for all these automations, and I know people like, yeah, man, the future, but you don't realize that moving that fast, the majority of people are going to get left in limbo and not be able to communicate or progress in this new world that they're developing. So you got to manage it. So let me get back to, okay, so fear factor, the seduction period, After you all didn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe, after nobody was like, yeah, rushing to get it, remember they started throwing out the numbers. Well, we have 70% people who have done this, and it's just a small group that isn't. Well, if you had the majority, right? Let's go back to logic. If they did have the majority, why are you now changing the fear factor to the fear factor to the seduction period, and then now you're strong arming America? The strong arm came in, and this is where we were talking about inclusion. Remember, I'm getting to that, Lola. That's the ending part of it, Lola. But the ending really starts with the beginning, which is communication. So the strong arming of America. That's what it should be called. 2021 should be called the strong arming of America. The seduction. I don't write books, but I mean I do write books, but I don't write books about this stuff. But I should have wrote one called The Fear, the Seduction, and the Strong Arming. And the strong arming is the part that people should really be mad about, because strong arming took the choice away. And it's funny because look at the period. During the fear factor, you had all the choice. And because of the way it was communicated, people chose based off of fear. They didn't choose off their memory, off of grandma's recipe that cured anything with ginger and some other stuff. They didn't do it based off of people that they know that was, unhealthy and doing. They didn't do it off of those things. Then when you didn't do it to the seduction period, which really made them mad, what these people want, we just got to squeeze this thing, man, and get as much as we can until we unveil this strong arm. Okay, you don't want to do what we say do? You ain't going to make a living. We're going to make it so, first off, let's shut down some of these places and make it so that you can't go, and support the entrepreneur who entrepreneurs think differently than everybody else. Point blank, period. You have to be crazy to think you can be a success on your own. And those crazy people are the ones they wanted to get rid of first. Financially, who do you hurt? You hurt the ones who can hold it down themselves. We know we got our tentacles all tied into big markets. We got our hands tied into all of these major players. But I don't have JoJo on 9th Street, and I don't have Shakina on Main Street. I'm not tied into their infrastructure. They can do what they want. They can still survive. They probably got a community of people who will support them in this time. They will support them more than they will support big business. So let me first knock them out the box. Yeah, y'all got to close y'all shops. Even though essential workers were allowed to keep their place in business. I'm telling y'all, the hypocrisy of it all was blowing my mind, and I didn't have a megaphone to tell nobody. I didn't have an opportunity to tell everybody. Like, that's the biggest challenge we have. If there was ever a thought of saying, let me mobilize, let me be the leader, let me be the person who steps out in front and starts getting us on the right track. We are so inundated with the processes that they have in place that nowadays it's just challenging for a brother Omar to step up and lead the way, or a brother Rashid, or somebody who is actively in their community, in their group, to actually make a difference. It's hard because they won't let you say what you want to say when you get on these platforms, and understandably so, is because they got their hands on big business. And if y'all think that these platforms aren't attached to them, one of the scariest things is knowing that, there is that people have this whole conversation. They have all this stuff we're talking about. And I'm sure somebody's going, there may be some possible judgment for me for having this conversation today. I'm fully aware that there are entities out there who are designed to make sure that this conversation, this kind of leadership, this kind of motivation doesn't infect the people. In fact, there's an infamous letter from Hoover, who was actually President Hoover, who was head of the FBI. There's a huge letter where the conversation is there'll be no black messiah. If y'all understand what that means, it just means that black people can't have leadership that is above and beyond what they will allow you to do and talk about. And so that's why you have people that are afraid to do stuff. Hey, Hollywood, I was scared at one point, man. I'm gonna tell you, I was going so hard in the paint, Hollywood, that I was getting nervous when I was at the gym working out. I felt like somebody was watching me. Like I would have these vibes. I'd be like, yo, man, do I need to dial it back? Because I feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's why y'all, you know, if I use certain words or don't use certain words, y'all understand why. There are certain parameters that this conversation can be had, but it has to be differently. And the fact that we don't have our own space in place, I know Puffy got Revolt or whatever, but is that a place? Like, is that a place where you can have the conversation? You know what I'm saying? True story, Hollywood, and that's why I still do it. I just the goal would be to set up something or create something where we can communicate without having that fear. Like, I don't think that fear is going to go away. Like, I'm not afraid of that, right? What I am afraid of is not being so effective that we carry the conversation past that point of, you know, whatever happens to me. That's the part that I think that most conscious woke people have more Malcolm in them than Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? And the problem with that is we're all bubbled up with this emotion and energy and this want and will to fight, but we've been taught that you got to have one person to stand behind to do it. And then when you find that one person that is out there doing it, then like somebody mentioned, just like Teray mentioned, they start trying to undermine and discredit you, and there's only so much you could do, right? And that's what I'm saying, Redbone. That's kind of my point, is that even the places and spaces where you think you would have it, where you could share the information, we don't own them. We're not you know, the top dogs in them. But that's where it goes back to this. And I know Lola was talking about, was communicating about this. So Lola, I kept saying this. There's a story. There's a story about when, you know, black people were Republicans. Not that matters, but there was a story of a guy who had a printing mill in South Carolina. And in South Carolina, he won the Senate race because he was printing out more documentation and more flyers than his opponent. And he ended up winning because his message reached people far and wide. So what did they do? They did the same thing they did on Juneteenth. They burned down his mill and forced him to leave and threatened to kill him. But the thing I took away from that is the writing is on the wall. The only way that effective communication is going to happen is in writing. These phones, these computers have taken us away from one of the most valuable tools we've ever had, and that's our ability to put words to paper and pass it on. That's why books are important. We don't write enough. When was the last time you got a written letter from somebody? When is the last time somebody put their words on paper and handed it to you? That's why rappers are effective. You know, I know there are some that just spit off the top, but there's something about that guy who writes it down. It's a script at that point. Yeah, you stop, Missy, you stop using functions that are necessary for you to excel. Do y'all know it took me, when I wrote my book, it took me probably like 2 months to actually write it, and then I had to do all the processes of everything else. What's up, Cheryl? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's the lost art of communication. We as a people have lost that nationally. Write that letter. Once that letter is written and you send it to somebody, it is official. As it is written, let it be done. Do y'all understand what that means? That means that you have to start writing. Listen. The minute you started writing, the minute that they started realizing that writing was effective, what was the deterrent? Save the trees. You got to save the trees. Anytime that y'all see something adverse going on, I need y'all to raise the red flag and say something ain't right. The way that they're attacking Donald Trump right now and not allowing any other conversation to happen, y'all got to be looking at that like something ain't right. Something's up. Because you've never had a president get attacked like that before in the history of presidency. And I know y'all want to be Democrat and Republican. I'm going to go on the record and tell y'all right now, I used to do that. I used to say, I voted for Biden off of the strength of saying I'm a rock with the people. And I actually said that. I was like, everybody want Trump out, man. I'm just gonna go with, and it was one of those moments that has failed me that I have regretted, because I feel as though I should have went with my heart and said, as crazy as this guy is, he's unpredictable, and that makes him dangerous to the whole world. I love it. I like the fact that he was transparent. We had the only president who was tweeting the agenda. There was something about that, and I said we'll never see that kind of transparency in the history of presidency again unless he gets elected. We'll never see that kind of blatant disregard for the machine ever. We won't see it again. Everything that you've witnessed over the last couple of years have been what? Under the guise of secrecy. It's been under the guise of, do it now and then y'all find out what happens later. But we were actually the deterrent for some of the things that we heard Donald Trump say. We were actually like, we voiced our opinion. We had a word in the matter. Yeah, they trying to take him all the way out. First thing they tried to do, Lola, was disable him. Listen how crazy this is. They tried to disable him in such a way that he could never run for presidency again. I'm not going to campaign for him, Redbone, but I'm definitely I'm definitely voting in that way. And the reason, right, Nadine. But here was my policy, Nadine. If I had a loud megaphone, I said, "Who do you trust? The evil you know or the evil you don't?" I will go with the evil I know because I know what they're capable of. We put somebody in office it's not that, Charlie. That's not him pushing that agenda, Charlie. You got to understand that you're going to have people who are next to you who are undermining you at the same time. That was never his approach. Just so y'all understand that Donald Trump was if y'all going off Democrat, Republican, he was a Democrat long before he was a Republican. And I never experienced him bugging out on black folks. Matter of fact, the only time I really saw him was at Usher's 26th birthday party at the Rainbow Room in New York. And he was very chill. Like, he was among a whole group of black people just being himself, cool as I don't know what. And then he said to everybody, I got to become a Republican in order to get into office. And what do Republicans stand for? He just took the agenda of Republicans and took it to the streets. What are the streets for Republicans? Trailer park white people. The lower level white people. That's all he did. Most Republicans are like this. I'm a Republican. I make a lot of money, and the world will go how I want it to go. That's the normal Republican response. Is uppity people. And there's a whole sector of them that hadn't been spoken for, and he realized that. Who speaks for those people? Well, he did. Why not? He needed them to get elected. He also needed them so he didn't have to worry about, listen, the reason why, and I'm going to take this on a couple different ways for y'all. The reason why Chris Brown, after that Rihanna incident, could come back and be successful is because he had a group of people who supported him no matter what. Chris Brown has a career today because of the people who supported him after he did this heinous act that almost got him canceled. As a matter of fact, he came out of almost being canceled so hard, he said, I'm chalking up the deuces. He was cussing. He was going hard in the paint. Yeah. So Lola, when you think about that, let's run it back. And again, I hate the fact that they know how misinformed and how unintelligent the group of American people are. Let's remember, we're not moving as individuals. This conversation is as an individual. As a collective group, we got ourselves into pandemic trouble as a collective. We did that. We allowed them to infiltrate. We didn't even keep in mind, think about this, the laws that Biden put in place while he was working for the career that he has now. We decided to negate all the BS that he did on his way to getting where he's at now. We negated how many black folks he locked up, how many times he called us niggas, excuse my language. We negated all of those things. We negated all of those things. Then we watched him argue with a black lady for the presidency. And she said all the factual dirt on him. She gave you every reason not to vote for him. She gave you every reason not to vote for him. She gave you every reason to vote for her and not to vote for him. And what did they do? They said, hey, listen, man, you're hardcore and you're gonna make us lose. Can we get you to join us? Can we get you to forget about all the truths that you said to the United States? You don't got to worry about it. We'll make it so that they can't replay it. We're gonna prey on their short-term memory. Like this country, they all have short-term memories. Look what we did with the pandemic. They have a short-term memory. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, Lola. I'm getting to that part of it. So first we invite him to the party, and he's done all this heinous stuff against black people and whatnot, but we don't talk about that. Donald Trump is not on the record for nationally affecting black people. He's on record for maybe affecting a few people, maybe a few hundred people. Few hundred people versus all right, Chrissy Chris, I see you subscribed. I love it. A few hundred people versus millions of people. Donald Trump ain't writing no laws into effect before he became president that affected millions of people. Biden did. Biden did for years. Wrote and supported the BS that affected a community of people. Trump got accused of being friends with Omarosa and maybe firing a few people or not hiring enough people or whatever. But millions. Then we go to, the VP. We're going to make you VP of, you're going to be the first black one. You'll go down in history, but we need you to side with our guy. Now, people are going to bring up the fact that your campaigning and and how you've been operating out there has been crazy. They're going to talk about that, but we got you. Don't worry about it. We just need you to act like you never said what you said. All right. If you can move like that and start really pulling your people, the one that you have negatively affected in your career as a DA, the people that you have really put your foot on their neck, their knee in their back. Yeah, we need those people. We need you to bring those people to the party. Can you do that? This would be the greatest. We need this right now too, because we got some things we need to put in place, and only you and this president can do it. I don't talk Democrat and Republican because they're two wings on the same bird. The dope part about Trump was he was the head of that bird that didn't come from the birth of either side of those wings. That bird, that eagle that we talk about, what up, Ush, did not birth Donald Trump. It's birthed so many others. Think about this. Most people who become presidents all go through the reign of some Senate, some, they were some House of Republicans, some mayor, some governor. They've been in politics leading up to that point. So you say to yourself, they don't know what to do with a person who doesn't think like that. He's from outside the club. He's got resources that are greater than ours, than most of us going into this situation, and has none of the baggage. If we can convince him to play ball with us, then yeah, let's do it. And what better way to send a message to the American people that after you vote for a black guy, for the first black president, that let's make it seem like everything can be rebuilt and put back together by this, situation. I appreciate you, Cheryl, for the Cash App. Thank you so much. Let's do that. Like, if y'all don't think about that kind of stuff, man, I do. And I know I'm gonna have to figure out a way to share it more often without, putting my social media in jeopardy, but also finding ways to disseminate the information. Because the last few years have been wrought with misinformation and leading people astray. And if we don't have a conversation where we're leveling the field, people used to, the irony is this, and this is kind of one of the other things that discouraged me from talking about it, especially on Clubhouse. Now, if y'all don't know what Clubhouse is, Clubhouse was the app that kind of birthed birthed me really coming out and sharing a lot of my opinions and the way I think. Before, it was just I shared it with my friends and family, and they moved accordingly because they know, A, I'm strong in my faith, but I'm stronger in my walk than I am in my talk. So I live the life that I talk about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, there's no distance from that. Even with the creation of your own app, I still got to put it in somebody's app store, Crafty Mama. Like they have a stronghold on mass communication, except with the pen and paper. But being on Clubhouse, I would communicate and defend the logic that was missing from almost every conversation, especially from those doctors that they had hired to come in those rooms and undermine logic with. Y'all do understand this was an experiment on logic and how people react to disinformation and how people will respond to this event. And we failed as a community. We failed as a national community, as free and as strong as we're supposed to be as a nation. We failed. Nobody stood in the trenches. Nobody, as a collective group, we could have stopped all this stuff at the head. You didn't realize there were so many simps in your life until you saw this whole thing unravel. I saw people I thought would stand for something fall for this goofiness. I lost friends because they started wishing death upon me. It's people I don't even care to talk to no more, man, because they really showed me who they were. Like, they really was like, yo, if you feel that way, why don't you go out and get it? What? Why would you say that when you are already out here defending that it's possible death sentence to get it? Really? Okay, cool. So being on Clubhouse and I'm having this conversation, I'm breaking down, pure logic. I got kicked off a couple stages or whatnot. And that was one of the other reasons why I was like, yo, you know what? Hold on one second, y'all. Somebody's at my front door. Let me check this camera. Alexa, show me front door. He's cutting the lawn. Okay. But I was on there and there was so many ways that people were managing me on Clubhouse. Now, mind you, I'm what they call an OG on there. I've been on there from the beginning. I've been a mindset shifter since day one. So as I'm being held in high regard on this platform, these people are allowing these doctors and other people to disseminate this misinformation and have these stupid ass conversations. I kept saying to them, because the label that the government created for undermining people who think like outside of the box, they call you a conspiracy theorist, right? They call you a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, okay, well, Moses was considered a conspiracy theorist until he wasn't. People thought he was crazy when he built an ark, but it came out he was the right man for the job, right? So with that in mind, I did the work on Clubhouse. I had the conversations. I stood in the fold. And what I hated the most about all of this is none of those people, and I want to call them cowards today, none of those cowards, when the information came out, when I really had room to say, I told you so, not one of them came back and said, yo, Scrap, man, I apologize, man. You was right, man. It's crazy. I didn't think at the time, and you know what I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. Not one. So I'll be like, yo, what? Be a person of integrity. I thought I was communicating with a person of integrity. I do not want to communicate with anybody who's not willing to be redirected and say, my bad. I see it now. That's exactly it, Hollywood. I was like, yo, if y'all can't, you have to have some humility about yourself when somebody proves you wrong, just to say, my bad. Damn, I thought I knew. My bad. You put me up on game. And that's why my conversation is the way it is when we have trolls come in the room and talk about the apple cider vinegar drink and whatnot. I don't really have to prove nothing. I just want to give them a mindset shift so they can understand that you won't have to apologize later if you listen now. Exactly, Lola. Like they too many of the people in our community are not thinking critically enough or don't care. I feel like over the last few years, people identify with not caring as much as they say they do. I'm not one to be reactionary as much as I am to be, to move with action. Too much pride. I told my friends I regret playing into the BS and not doing my due diligence. Yeah, man. Nobody wants to. No, listen. It's not your fault, right? Y'all have to understand that for this to be what it was, they've planned this for years. Yes, you should make it known that we all agree to disagree, but everyone is entitled to their opinion on it. It's a platform for all of us to chime in. Absolutely. Y'all gotta understand, like, look, man. We are the walking examples of a proof of concept. When it comes to this apple cider vinegar drink, everybody that's in this live that is drinking it, that is participating in it, you are a walking advertisement for it working. You can't keep that to yourself. You still got to have a conversation with the people and go from there. And that's kind of the same thing with what has happened to us over the past 2 years. And it seems like forever, don't it? It seems like 5 years. It seems like 6 years. And that's crazy when you think of that mental draining that is done, this hold. It'll be 3 years coming up, man, that we've been dealing with this and the roller coaster involved with it. After they took out the entrepreneurs, they then inflicted more strong arming by making people participate in this activity. And that's the part that I really I'm hurt by the most, because if there was any time, and if you were at any of my in any of those rooms when I was on Clubhouse, I said this. I said we have to stand in the fold for those people who can't stand for themselves. The whole world should have shut down. The minute they started strong arming, everybody should have dropped their tools. Everybody should have dropped what they was doing and said, "Nah, we're not doing that." Especially government workers. Those people who are right. What other way to show unity? What other way to manage it than to, yeah, Charlie, I'm sorry to hear that. What other way to show them that we're not going to stand for it than for the very people that they hired, that they signed to these contracts? You know what I'm saying? That they got. I know it's hard because they threaten you with they threaten you with the things that you have worked for all your life to be taken away. Yep. Gainesville has a thing where they give you paper straws. It's to save the turtles. So this one town is going to save the turtles. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, but that's what they that's what they do, Letitia. They put things out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're gonna be crazy. Zena said, "For sure, you guys have a terrific, thankful Thursday." Thank you, Zena. Zena's always a voice of inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all following Zena on the platforms that she's on. That's Zena Newsom. But she's a bright light in bright places. And if y'all understand that, y'all say it to yourselves so y'all can really grasp what that means. A lot of us can be bright lights in dark places because it's easy to shine in those places where there's nothing there. What up, Paris? You got to be a bright light in bright places, meaning amongst the stars, you still got to shine. You know what I'm saying? You still got to be that. That's the word for the day. If y'all don't take that one, there's usually one every day, and that's the one for the day. Be a bright light in bright places. You should be able to shine among the stars and the sun when you're out. Man, that was a good one. What up, Epiphany? But with that in mind, listen, you know, there used to be a thing I used to say when dating, right? And what up, P. Marsh? I used to date, and a girl would ask me, just little random stuff. And one of the things I used to always say is, you got to know what you know, and then act on what you know. Don't go off what you think. Go off what you know. What up, Jocelyn? If you act off if you build your life off knowing what you know, it's a safer positioning for you to assume or think you know what I'm saying? So I just be like, know what you know. If you move, and if you don't know enough, then go learn some more. Go study some more. It's out there and it's available, and it's groups. It's people like me talking all over the place. You just got to listen. And and most times, if there's nothing else I'm going to do, I'm going to make sense. That's the bigger part for me is, does it make sense? Like, that was probably my whole thought process through the whole pandemic. Does that make sense? And that's why I'm able to break it down the way I'm breaking it down today. Does that make sense that all these people are unhelpable at the New York hospitals, but at other hospitals around the world, they're doing great? They did that because New York is the capital of the world. I don't know if y'all know that. New York is the capital of the world. Every country, people, when they come, they all want to go to New York. They want to go to the Big Apple. They want to go to New York. So why not put New York on the spotlight? Now, the opposite of that, what's the opposite state that is also on the front lines? It is California. So California ran its own idiot campaign. If y'all lived in California, it's the dumbest stuff. It still is to this day. California is running the muck with its own idiot stuff that it got going on. I remember I visited California during their situation, and they were giving, in order to get into clubs, you had to be, you had to have done the deed. And if you hadn't done the deed, for $35 outside the club, somebody could give you, you could get the deed done. And then you get what they call a passport. What is a passport? It gives you the ability to move around freely in another country. California was moving and acting as a whole nother country. Still is to this day. Some of the policies and idiot stuff they're trying to push out there is ridiculous. Have y'all asked yourselves what happened to all those people they were trying to hire? Do y'all remember that? California was one of the first places they were hiring all those people to go door to door to make sure that you did the deed. Do y'all remember that? And do y'all remember what I'm talking about? Do y'all remember what I'm talking about? I'm trying to tell you, your memory is everything. And if y'all have forgot that they were hiring people to see who got inundated and who didn't. If y'all are forgetting the plays that are being run on y'all, they can run the play again, but better. Why wasn't it effective in the first place? Listen, they hired some people. I don't care what y'all say. They hired people that were going to go to your house. Y'all got to watch the plays they tried to run. That was one of them. That was a huge play. I was like, yo, what are they gonna do? Yeah, there were actually flyers. They had a website and everything where you could sign up. Yep, that you could sign up to be a person who did all that. And then you have to say to yourself, why would I want to do that when first responders got shitted on the most? If you were a first responder, man, I apologize for the way that y'all were treated, because y'all were standing in the trenches against this heinous situation, and then they turned around and said, fuck y'all. Excuse my language. They said, forget y'all. Y'all just like them. Y'all are disposable. We do with y'all what we want to do. What up, Alexandra? Do you get it? So, as Lola said before, all of a sudden there's a country that changes its position on how they feel about you and your health care. If y'all didn't raise an eyebrow to, oh, y'all gonna do it for free, just pull up and you're good. When is this country giving you anything beneficial for free? I just want y'all to pay attention, that's all. I just want y'all to act like y'all here. Be present. Yep. Tashi said, as a nurse, we got the blank end of the stick, left a position for the mandate. Yep. That's exactly right, Lola. They got people that they want, that they're in position with, and we're not on that list. We've never been on that list. And for people to think that now we're good to go it blew my mind. My daughter went to New York as a nurse. When this first started, she said it was horrible. Miss Michelle, I can tell you, I'm sure it was. The real horrifying part was they were getting their mandates and what to do, not from doctors and physicians, but from scientists. Hey, give them this concoction and let's take away their ability to manage themselves. That's a huge part of this whole thing. Your ability to manage yourself has been taken away. And to me, that's the bigger experiment. How many people can we get to do what we want them to do? By force or by coercement or by fear? How can we do this? That's right. That's right, Tashi. I told people that. I was like, y'all are tripping, man. Y'all are tripping if y'all think that's how stuff is going. Boom, Lola. Yep. Yep. And let me help you understand. So the big campaign was, elderly people. Now, if y'all don't understand, you ask yourself, how do people get this thing when they haven't left their domicile, when they haven't moved away from where they are? How do you get this? So you had nursing homes getting it. And you have to ask yourself, how is that possible when people, how is that possible? That now there's a thing, it's a thing. So the attack on elderly to me was probably the greater damage done to our community, because who else is going to dispute the facts of history than the people that lived it? Who else can dispute the facts of history than the people who lived it? Stephanie, I hope you're still in here. It's more imperative now than ever that you have that conversation with your grandma and start documenting real history by the people who lived it. I shudder to think what the history books look like right now. Yep. Tashi, listen, if you don't understand that when they came up with their concoction, it reintroduced what was already being managed. I didn't even talk about that. Do y'all remember that the numbers were super duper low the summer of 2020? The numbers had dropped off dramatically. Why? Because it doesn't live in the system in that kind of heat. My brother actually texted something that was supposed to help detox from it. I haven't done that much research on it. But there's supposed to be a consistency that you do for 30 days or so. But that's just such a hard thing to do. Yep, Cheryl, and they're trying to get rid of history books, and they're trying to make it where you don't talk about history to people who need to know about the history the most. If you don't have a history, you're like us when we came to America. You're wandering around aimlessly, not knowing, how great you've been or what you've been subjected to in life. That's the real part, man. Like, history is associated with memory. If you have no memory of the events, then it didn't happen. If it didn't happen, what are we talking about? If y'all don't think about the play being run here, they're getting rid of the play was to, was challenging those people who were the orators of our history. Well, not only that, but if Tashi, you could scare the people to control them. You can seduce them to control them, and then there's a strong arming, and that should help you identify who you're dealing with, and then you should go back and reevaluate some of the policies and conversations they've been having. You know what I'm saying? If your friend said, I'm gonna do this for you, or you got to do this, man, because it's gonna be crazy, and then you don't respond that way, and they say, look, hey, man, well, if you do it, I give you $10, and then you don't respond to that and you say, yo, man, if you don't do this, I'm gonna knock you out, bruh. Then you start realizing that the will and want for them to put you in harm's way is greater than how they really, how the care and concern they say they have for you. America put everybody in harm's way. That's dope. Read Earthly Bodies by Heavenly Hair. Great herbalist book. All right, I'll check that out. We were put in harm's way, and then we were seduced, fear-mongered, and threatened into doing it. Now, who else? Let's think about who else has been in that situation. They did a social campaign on the American people, and of course, there's a sector of us who have not experienced life in that crazy way. There's a sector of people who have only known that way of life. Those people are renting a room in the house of the people who are setting the rules. And these people, they're all over the room, like they're everywhere in the room except together. Some are by the window, Some are by the dresser, some are by the lamp post, some are on the bed, some are in the closet, some are everywhere in the room except for at the door together looking or at the window, either prepared to jump out the window or bum rush the door to get into the rest of the house. I wish I would just think about what I just said, because that's where we're at. We got a room full of people and nobody knocking on the same door or jumping out the same window. We're renting a room in somebody else's house. That's always been my thought about the process of living in America. We're renting a room in somebody else's house, trying to tell them how to run their house. We only got one room in that house. And everybody's going their own way, so we can't take over. We can't get into another room. We can't own the house. We can't, you know what I'm saying? We can't do any of that. We're renting a room in somebody else's house, trying to tell them how to do it, and complain when we don't stand together at the door, holding it shut so they can't come in. We haven't moved together to put the dresser in front of the door so they can't come in here. But Tashi, that's what people believe they're doing when they're in their private spaces. They feel like they're managing their own room. And once you realize that you're managing a space in the room and that they could remove your space, that it's easier to remove one or two of us than it is to remove all of us. Yeah, but God has given us the fortitude, Lola, to be able to manage that ourselves. And if we go deep that way, then we just say, clearly we're in a world full of non-believers. People with faith are hard to move off of their, people with strong faith, you can't tell them anything. You can't just do anything to them because they're ready to. They know they're good. They know what's up. They know the bigger story. They know the bigger meaning. But we're surrounded by people who have, they've taken any kind of affirmation that you would have in school. They've taken all the religion out of school. They've taken the opportunity for you to express your faith out of places that need it more than anything. What up, Grayson? So what do you do with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as we've come, we've actually taken more steps backwards than forward than we can ever imagine. We have retreated in such a place, in such a way that it's going to take some real concentration and some real conversation and some real documentation to adjust. Absolutely. But it's not going to fail without sacrifice. If there's a word that I can tell you that our people are afraid of, it's sacrifice. That was evident with this in 2020, 2021, when they threatened your jobs. Everybody could have sacrificed going to their jobs all together. And guess what would happen? They would have rethought the plan. Have to, right? Who gonna do the work? And I think this is there was a statement by Kanye West that was not thought all the way out, right? When he said, people chose slavery. Yes, I would say more so in that time, but then again, their time might be parallel to what we're dealing with now. Because if you can't get the whole collective of people to stand, like, say, for instance, all of the farmers, when it was clearly, this is what throws me off, man. When I see those videos of one or two or maybe three cops harassing the hell out of one kid or one black person with 17, 18 people with phones out, I'd be like, how do you have the numbers and still lose? How do you not create a wedge between you and the aggressors? How is it that there's not more Nat Turners out there? Think about that. Yeah, Tashi. But Tashi, that's a small dent in the grand scheme of things. When you walked off, I would have prayed and wished that there were thousands of others that followed in your footsteps to make them rethink what they need to do. And what do they do in that? And listen, they think they have a contingency plan for it, but they only have a contingency plan for a small group that would do that. They got us covered. They got the small group level covered. They got, if the city of Minnesota want to stomp, want to march, they got that covered. They have it covered because there is nothing to be afraid of, because most people don't go into a situation prepared to sacrifice. Appreciate that, Chai. People aren't prepared to sacrifice. As a collective, there is no sacrificing, which is, is necessary. It's necessary that you sacrifice in order to achieve. If anybody thought, if you thought taking the rattle out of a baby's hand was hard, try to change the way the world works. And with a baby, you get to use your whole hand. With this world, you're using a pinky trying to do it. That's right. That's right. We are not on we're not considered. We don't get the consideration everybody else gets. Yep. But see, that's the thing. A lot of us forgot our power. Letitia said that when you find who's going to be beside you during hard times, I tell my children they have classmates and associates, wait till you get in trouble. You're absolutely right. I will not march next to people that are not trained to use a firearm. I'm sorry. Not going to happen. If you show up to a march that I'm at, y'all better know I got a couple clips. I'm expressing my First and Second Amendment rights. I got it on just as much as protection as they got on. I don't show up to a football field without my pads. I do not show up to the football field without my helmet. I will not show up to the football field against other people who have a playbook with a group of people who don't have a playbook. Have y'all ever seen that? That dudes who show up to play pickup ball, they got 5 dudes that have played with each other for years. And then you got 5 dudes that got to pick from what's left on the side. Have y'all ever watched that? That's what I equate any of these marches to. You out there marching with people who you don't know what they're willing to do and what they won't. Ain't no way in hell. And then you watch all these rubber bullets in the eyes and all that kind of stuff. You wasn't wearing a mask. You wasn't having on. You ain't put on no shades. They got masks and they got shields. You can go get a shield. You can walk outside with a shield. You can make your own shield and go to a march. And guess who they ain't gonna mess with? Y'all think about this. A majority of the crime and against humanity has been against people who couldn't defend themselves. Point blank, period. I ain't standing out there. I'm not going when we were used to fight growing up, when we used to fight in groups, you wouldn't go to a fight knowing that they had bats without bringing bats yourself. That's right, Tashi, as you should. So many of us don't. So many of us are afraid to protect ourselves, and they're hoping that people like me and people like you who aren't will protect them. Nah, man, you got to be able to protect me too. It's a two-way street. We in this together. Like, if you not, the reason why America isn't a third world country right now and isn't in bad shape like these other countries is because we have not given up the rights as individuals to bear arms. That's why. All these other countries, they're forbidden to have it. New York is a country to me, and California as well, where they challenge your right to, to hold that down. I looked at the little survey or whatnot. Man, you virtually cannot have the right to carry in New York. Like, you really, 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 like you have to have so many certain privileges. Like, you have to go through so much. The deterrent to be a legal Second Amendment right carrier is ridiculous. And California is the same way. That's right. Especially in Chicago, Tashi, shoot. Because and people want to negate that they have anything to do with the climate of their cities. There's a law here in Georgia which is evening the playing field, is that you don't have to have so many requirements in order to carry. And I'm one of those people who believe that, most bullies don't pick on people they think can beat them. That's what we went through. We went through getting bullied in 2020 because they felt like they can beat us. I mean, that's impossible to do, Lola, because nobody's turning them in. Nobody's stupid enough to do that. But legally, they're trying to implement different things. Illegal guns are going to always be around in America, period. They're going to always be around. Illegal guns, you can't take all the guns away. And they're afraid of that. And that's why there's a temperament where, where they can't do, that's right, we forgot our power. And I won't say we forgot it, Tashi. We as a collective group don't move as a powerful entity. Even when the history of our lives will show you and tell you we are and have been. Even from a simple boycott. 1 year boycotting the bus brought effective change. What is it that you're willing to give up to affect change? They said we should defund the police. I'd be like, yo, you can't wipe away that. Don't defund the police. Just get rid of the ones who aren't peacemakers. Get rid of the bad cops. It's easy. Don't defund them. Get rid of the bad cops. Keep the good ones that are willing to stand in the trenches and fight against those people. But, I just got my different way of thinking, man. And I appreciate y'all, listening to it. It lets me know I'm not alone. You know what I mean? And that's for me, that's always comforting. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we think we're on an island, and the only way we're ever going to figure it out that we're not on the island of our own thoughts is when we get into, see these collaborative rooms. We must be ready at all times. Some of the problems that lots of the wrong people have guns also. Yes, indeed, Nadine. But I think it's not about having them. It's about who's using them. You know what I'm saying? And people won't come in your house if they know that you're always strapped. You know what I mean? That's how I feel, Teray. We rent a room in somebody else's house. And while we're renting this room over here, I'll be honest with y'all, I feel like they are pillaging the place where our house is at. You know what I'm saying? If Africa is supposed to be our home as black people, then we have a responsibility to, at least in your lifetime, go visit and go see what the climate is over there and talk to some of the people and find out what their pain points are. And then go from there and decide if you want to be a difference maker in that situation, or, if you want to keep dealing with or trying to fight the fight that's here. You know what I'm saying? Yep. There are a few banks that are black owned or whatnot. But again, if you watch the movie The Banker, man, it's such a dope movie. Please watch the movie The Banker. I believe it's on Netflix right now. It's an awesome movie about how this very intelligent black man ended up owning some banks, and he knew how to maneuver because he understands that he wanted to rent a room. He wanted to own the house, but he couldn't own the house without first aligning himself with somebody who was able to own the house. You know what I'm saying? So that's where, in collaboration with what people are talking about should happen in America for things to be even more equal, is having to align yourself with people who are on the inside already, who already have the ability to surpass the red tape. The challenge is trust. How do you trust? You got to, who said this? Muhammad Ali said it. He said, if I have 1,000 snakes that are saying they want to help me, and then there's 100 snakes in there that wish me bad, how am I supposed to still determine which 100 snakes, which one of those snakes are a part of that 100? And that's the challenge we have with, assistance from others. We don't know if you're really assisting us, or if you're leading us down to the slaughterhouse. So we're in a place already. Listen, think about this, man. I don't think we actively talk about or think about the relationship we have with the country that we live in. We're in an abusive relationship. We're in an abusive relationship with the country that we live in. And we stay. I'm sorry, that part of the conversation is just now. If y'all see my eyes, if y'all see me feel like, oh my God, like what is that? Like, oh my God, we are in. No, there is no love, Tashi. That's the part that you're trying to. That's the seduction part. That's the part when they seem to be halfway sober, but we're in a abusive relationship, and that's not just us. That's everybody for the most part. And some people are dealing with different kinds of abuse, but we know the kind of abuse that, as a black person living in America, that we deal with because they put it in our face every day. Malcolm X, they have you so bamboozled that you end up loving the villain and hating the hero. That's where we at with it right now. We're in an abusive relationship. We refuse to get out of it. And we refuse to do the things to get the respect that it takes to change the status of this abusive relationship. Absolutely. But that's why I said that, Lola, that they have us hating ourselves so much, that black men who abuse the relationships they have with black women is because they see themselves in you. And they have us hating ourselves. So how can they love you when they hate themselves? These are just some, again, we up, man. Yeah, I really had, and maybe this is what it be when I be on 2 sides of sleep. I mean, 2 hours of sleep. I haven't slept. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I didn't get a lot of sleep. And I woke up and I woke up out of my sleep, and that when I wake up and have broken sleep, it just makes me sleep longer when I go back to sleep, and that's what happened. I woke up out of nowhere, and then I went back to sleep, and I was like, oh, I can't let it get past 10 o'clock. I literally try to be here on this live between 8 and 10 a.m. I really don't want to be on there so late, yeah. But again, Lola, it's because they're conditioned. It's a condition that they have, that some of us have, um, is what it is. And until we actually have the conversation, um, on how to deal with the trauma, like, first off, black men don't talk about that. And when we do, we say it's accountability is not in our bloodstream. Like, accountability, we don't say, yes, I know what happened to me. Yes, I have a responsibility to actively make sure that I'm not putting that trauma on anybody else. Letitia said, have you ever considered getting out and trying to help young black men coming up? They're so lost because most black homes don't have fathers to raise their sons. They need guidance. Yes, that's a very difficult position to be in as a it's harder for me being black and living in I don't live in the hood. You know what I'm saying? I know when I did live in the hood, I was more effective in fostering those relationships with those kids because they saw a positive affirmation of somebody who didn't do those things that most of the community was doing. They saw somebody who was getting respect from those gangsters and thugs and drug dealers or whatnot who didn't do any of those things. A lot of the people I grew up with were involved in those things, and the fact that I was not was championed. The fact that they were like, yo, you're gonna be somebody, man, you're gonna do something with your, and that was hey man, y'all make sure nothing happened to Scrap, man, because you know what I'm saying, he a good one. You know what I'm saying? That was me growing up. So in those positions, it's hard to have those conversations when you're not present. You know what I'm saying? And so the challenge also is, there's a certain level of discipline that needs to happen, whether it be conversationally or physically, in those households where there's no father present. That's what a father brings to the table. That's what a man brings to the table who is conscious of how to structure and focus a child's life. There comes a level of focus that you can instill in a person to help them see their way. And you're right. It takes two people. You want a household of two people, a nurturer and a fosterer. You want somebody who's going to nurture them, which usually you get that in the mothers. You get a nurturer, and on the other side of that, you get the disciplinarian. You get the fosterer of great habits. Men, we tend to be, you know, on the stable side of tradition. Like I am very consistent. I think one of the things that you can lean on me for is that consistency. You know what I mean? Being consistent, as y'all have always heard me say, is probably one of the most powerful assets you can have as a person. And excuse me. And when you don't have that consistency, consistency comes from understanding the job and just doing it without emotion, so to speak. You know what needs to be done, so you're going to compete. You're going to do it. The fact that you can do it with passion and emotion just makes you better at doing it. Then there are the variety and creative part. Usually, you find in your counterpart. So if men are mostly, traditionally, if they are on that side of it, then the nurturer is the one who can ebb and flow and give the children whatever's missing on the other side of it. Yep, a nurturer and a disciplinarian. Yep. Um. So, no, you good? I said it. It is. That's deep, Letitia. You didn't say a lot. You don't have to apologize. It is very. Our community. What up, Darius? Our community is not a village anymore. We've run away from being a village and decided to be a community, place where we all gather at. Where in a village was you trained people to do certain tasks. Villages were made and successful because everybody knew their roles. Right now, we are in a community, and that just means we commune together. Nobody's discussing roles, nobody's discussing positions, nobody's telling people where and how they should be and what they should do. You know what? Let me drink my apple cider vinegar, man, while I'm sorry. I just felt like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Tashi. So that statement Tashi made, and so Cheryl, I want to address your comment first. She said a whole black family is beautiful. Yes, indeed. When you're able to have balance in any situation, it's most ideal. And in this society, you see well-rounded individuals have extreme and great success. Now, Nadine and Tashi, I want to talk about this comment where you said many women have had to be both. No woman has ever been both. No woman has ever been father and mother. They've been a stronger mother. They've never been a father. I've always I've always had to separate that in conversation because there are people who are quick to say on Father's Day they want to salute women. That's impossible to do. And it's not the right mindset to put out there is that a woman can be a man. And likewise, a man can't be a woman. I don't care what conversation anybody wants to have. You're not thanking single fathers on Mother's Day. They look at you like you crazy. Because respectfully, I know I could never compete with what a woman brings to the table for their kid. And on the flip side of it, no woman can helm the responsibility of what it is to be a father. I know, but most people say that, Tashi, and that's the only reason why I'm expounding on it. You and I both know that there are people out there saying, well, I'm his mama and his daddy. What? Who are you, Bruce Jenner? Caitlyn Jenner? What? That ain't possible. And it undermines what we as individuals and as we are set up. It undermines what we have to do to be who we are. Y'all go through a world of things that I'll never ever experience, nor do I want to. I don't have the desire. I am so excited God made me a man. And I'm so excited that God made you who you are. And that I hope that you relish in that and you build that and you become whatever is needed for the situation that you're in. You become a greater that for the situation. I'm a stronger man to the women in my life in the absence of other men. But we all have to carry that. Exactly. And sometimes that becomes the discourse that we're having. You know, there are women out there that say that they're the man, they're the father and mother in their kid's life. And so the kid grows up thinking, yeah, my mom was my daddy. What? I like that, Tashi, more than anything. And but we all carry that. So we all carry we all should. A balanced person carries similar traits, but done differently. Men are nurturers. We nurture differently, though. Women are disciplinarians. You just discipline differently, though. So we all carry those separate monikers. It's how we move in that makes the biggest difference. But I will never, not once, say that I'm the best mother to some girl, to some kids. Who gonna do that? Like where? Like again, like I like to keep the conversation just logical, just simple logic. Yeah, but that doesn't. And I understand the reasoning why they're saying it, but that's what needs to be adjusted. Yeah, Lola says she just want to smack people when they do that. Yeah, but we see, Nadine. Strength is in the words that you use. Strength is in what you walk away with. You know what I'm saying? So if a woman walks away being able to say that she's the man, you know what I'm saying? The movie is called The Banker. It's with the dude who plays Captain America. I mean, that plays, he's Captain America now, the black Captain America. You got to watch it. It's super dope. Yeah, I've always held an issue with that because it's just impossible for us to do that. You know what I mean? A man, no woman can be a father to a kid and no man could be a mother to a child. Do you hear how crazy that sounds? The minute I reverse the conversation, because men don't say that. Like men don't be like, yeah, I've been my kid's mama and daddy. You will never hear a straight heterosexual man say that about his relationship with his kids. You will never ever hear that. But yet women want to be bisexual when it comes to the conversation about their relationship with their kids and the gaps that they have to stand in. I'm his mama and his daddy. What? And then you'll see somebody in the comments preach. Not you, Hollywood. I'm just saying they'll say that to that comment. They'll be like, "Go ahead, girl. Yes, you are. Yep, these men today." And it becomes a male. And people wonder why. I was not really trying to go here. The emasculation and all that. I really wasn't trying to have that conversation. Like nobody wants to take responsibility for the things that are going on in our community. Letitia says, with that being said, how do you feel about children raised in same-sex households, more so raising our young men, but in Florida, traditional husband-wife, we're outcasts? Woo, that's a loaded gun. She want me to shoot it. Listen. All right, listen. That's a loaded gun, Letitia, and I'm going to save that bullet for tomorrow. Tomorrow, let's talk about it. Y'all are going to either love me tomorrow or hate the F out of me tomorrow. What up, Jessica? Y'all are either going to love me or hate me tomorrow. We're going to have the conversation that everybody's running from, that everybody's trying to be PC about, that I admire Dave Chappelle for his stance and his conversation on. Yeah, she went there, didn't she? So for most of y'all, if y'all not on my on YouTube, that's where Letitia's at right now. And Letitia said, with that being said, how do you feel about children raised in same-sex households? Okay, hold on one second. Oh, my lawn care person needs to be paid. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second, okay? Jose. I'll be up in 1 second, okay? I'll be right there. So that's the conversation for tomorrow, man. Y'all got to make sure y'all hear and y'all remember. But y'all gonna, you either gonna love me or hate me. That's all I want y'all to. So I want y'all to know we're gonna have this conversation. I understand, Sonny. There's a conversation to be said because I think there's a conversation that you'll appreciate. Sonny said her son is transgender. I would love for if he's around to be, for him to be present, just so he can understand the position of those of us who are on the outside of that community, as well as him being able to, just understand why people act and respond the way that they do toward that community. All right. I think it's important that we don't have enough dialogue about it. And listen, for those of you who put up stories, for those of you who tweet, for those of you who share on your platforms, share that. Tomorrow we're gonna have a conversation about transgenderism, homosexuality, bisexualness, lesbianism. We're gonna have a whole conversation. I'm gonna have to give all y'all my phone number so we can stay in touch, because all these platforms all these platforms about to ban me tomorrow. Woo! Y'all are going to and listen, y'all know I converse with love and understanding. I will not accept anybody trash talking or, what I'm saying, being stupid. The conversation we're gonna have is for educational purposes, just so everybody can the thing about living with each other is we need to understand each other and respect each other. You know what I'm saying? That's the bigger part about all of it, Yeah, it's always been more than that, Charlie. It's been motivation and inspiration, but it's also at the heart of it, education. You know what I mean? And it's a real conversation that, I like having conversations that mean something and that you can walk away with, and that you have another value system to equate to whatever you've been doing with. You know what I'm saying? Some people just leave you alone, let you walk and do what you're doing, and don't engage in these kind of conversations that open you up. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not about judging at all, Sonny. What it is about is a conversation about understanding, right? Everybody wants something from each other, and we don't talk about what that is and what the cost of it is and why the misunderstanding is there. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you one quick example, but I got to run up here and pay my my lawn care specialist. This girl, I was at a club, and she was like, I was outside of VIP. And I was just trying to get an understanding of the vibe in the place. And she was like, take me to the VIP with you. I was like, why? She said, because I'm special. And I said, special? I said, why are you special? Like, I don't know why you're special. Let's talk about why you're special, and then we can think about that. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get into that too, Cheryl. I think that's another leg of this conversation. If we're going to start talking, we're going to start talking. Cheryl y'all should be writing this down. I do got Jose on hold. Cheryl wants to talk about the new movement of young men not wanting to date girls with children. That's not a new movement, but we could talk about. So tomorrow we're gonna talk about. Tomorrow's gonna be transformational. No pun intended. I'm gonna try to be on between 8 and 10. I think between that time is my sweet spot. And then the day after that we'll have the conversation about what Cheryl wants to talk about. But you guys, once you guys give me the topics that y'all want to discuss, I'll start writing them down, and we'll start. I want to promote it. Like, I want you all to promote it, that, hey, we're going to have a fiery conversation. You don't want to, if you miss today's conversation, you already kind of missed out to some degree, but you don't want to miss tomorrow's conversation, because we're going to get into it. All right. Is tonight Thursday? Yeah, Thursday I may be. They gonna come to Ray, but you see how I handle myself. For me, if it's got to make logic, it's got to be logical and got to make sense, no matter what we're talking about. And if it's not making sense, then what are we talking about? All right, y'all. Let me go take care of Jose, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. For those people who cash at me, man, y'all are a blessing always. For those people who bought gifts, who bought badges, for those people who continue sewing into this program, I appreciate y'all. Subscribe and follow. Turn on notifications. You know what I'm saying? DJ Dub, don't say it like you surprised. He like, you're a cool brother, Scrap. Keep up the great work. I will, man. I'm just going to bring the conversation to the table. I appreciate y'all, and I'm out. I see Jose walking away. I'll talk to y'all in a minute. This is not goodbye. This is to be continued. And now stop here.